Hello students. This class is concerned about drugs acting on renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. This is a little bit longer video because I have merged the two lectures into this one video where we are going to discuss all the drugs which are targeting renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system in body and used for hypertension. To begin with the introduction, angiotensin and kinins are autocoids released inside the body. Autocoids are also known as local hormone. They are produced locally into the blood and they produce the action in the local area. They play a major role in regulation of blood pressure and fluid and electrolyte balance. They participate significantly into the pathophysiology of hypertension, congestive heart failure, myocardial infarction and diabetic nephropathy. Nowadays, sympathetic overactivity and fluid and water retention related to the fluid and electrolyte balance are most important pathophysiology for development of hypertension and all other cardiovascular morbidities. So, exploration of the renin-angiotensin system and the development of new approaches for inhibiting its action has been an interest for most of the researchers since years. And as a result, we have a long list of drugs which are acting on this renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, which are helpful for the different cardiovascular conditions. Here you can see how renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system works. Whenever there is decrease into the blood pressure inside the body, the JG cell of the kidney gets stimulated. That is, juxtaglomerular apparatus gets stimulated of the kidney and it releases the renin. This renin will act on the angiotensinogen and convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. This angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2 with the help of enzyme angiotensin converting enzyme, shortly known as ACE. This angiotensin 2 is further converted into angiotensin 3 with the help of enzyme angiotensinases. This angiotensin 3 is said to be converted into angiotensin 4 and then inactive products also. This angiotensin 1 and 2 mainly has two action. One is vasoconstriction. Angiotensin 2 is the strongest vasoconstrictor substance released inside the body. It will be act directly onto the blood vessel and produce vasoconstriction. And as a result of vasoconstriction, there is a peripheral vascular resistance increases which will normalize the blood pressure. So, decrease in the blood pressure will be normalized by one action that is called as vasoconstriction. Other action of angiotensin 2 is on the adrenal cortex. What happens with the adrenal cortex? Angiotensin 2 will stimulate the adrenal cortex for release of aldosterone. Function of aldosterone is that it acts on the kidney and produces reabsorption of sodium and water. So, because of the reabsorption of sodium and water, there is an increase in the extracellular fluid volume. And increase in the extracellular fluid volume will lead to increase in the blood volume. Increase in the blood volume will lead to increase in the preload and ultimately blood pressure is normalized. So, as discussed into the earlier lectures related to pathophysiology of hypertension, now you understand that renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system is one of the long-term regulatory mechanism for the maintenance of the blood pressure inside the body. Most important substance here or the drug target is angiotensin 2. It has three main actions. It is very important to understand the actions of angiotensin 2 because all the drugs which act on this RAS pathway, they ultimately inhibit angiotensin 2. So we need to understand actions of angiotensin 2 thoroughly. First action is they cause altered peripheral resistance. What is the mechanism for development of this altered peripheral resistance? One is that it is a direct vasoconstrictor substance, so it produces constriction of the blood vessel, so peripheral resistance increases. Second is it enhancement of the peripheral noradrenergic neurotransmission. Angiotensin 2 will increase the norepinephrine release, it decreases the norepinephrine reuptake and increase vascular responsiveness to the norepinephrine. So in presence of angiotensin 2, the sympathetic activity also increases. There is increased sympathetic discharge from the CNS. So at the blood vessel level, reactivity to the sympathetic system increases, as well as from the central level, release of the sympathetic neurotransmitter is increased. And fourth action is release of catecholamines from the adrenal medulla, and all these actions together will produce a rapid pressure response. Means it is responsible for the immediate action of angiotensin 2, which produces sudden rise in blood pressure called as rapid pressure response, mainly because of its direct action on the blood vessels. Now we see the second action of angiotensin 2, that is altered renal function. How it happens? It is having direct effect to increase sodium reabsorption into the proximal tubule. It also release of aldosterone from the adrenal cortex, which lead to increased sodium reabsorption and increased potassium excretion into the distal nephron. So ultimately there is from the kidney there is increased release of aldosterone, which would lead to sodium and water reabsorption. Along with it, potassium excretion occurs. Also there is altered renal hemodynamics. It causes direct renal vasoconstriction, so blood flow to the kidney decreases. Enhanced noradrenergic neurotransmission in the kidney and increased renal sympathetic tone altogether is responsible for the slow pressure response produced by the angiotensin 2. And the third mechanism is altered cardiovascular structure. Here mechanism is that these actions are non-hemodynamically mediated actions. There is increased expression of proto-oncogenes into the heart or the cardiovascular muscles in presence of angiotensin 2, increased production of growth factors and increased synthesis of extracellular matrix protein ultimately lead to hypertrophy of the cardiac muscles. And hemodynamically mediated effects are increased afterload because of the vasoconstriction and increased vascular wall tension, and all this action would lead to vascular and cardiac hypertrophy and remodeling of the heart occurred, which is one of the very dangerous and very risky factor for development of the hypertension, heart failure, myocardial infarction and all other cardiovascular conditions. So, angiotensin 2 produces three types of action. One is altered peripheral resistance, second is altered renal function, and third is altered cardiovascular structure. Now we understand the location of angiotensin receptor and other function. Angiotensin receptors are of two variety, AT1 receptor and AT2 receptors. Location of AT1 receptor is into the vascular smooth muscles, myocardium and plasma membrane of the target cells. While A22 receptors are mainly predominant into the fetal life and they are widely distributed in all the tissues of the fetus. But in adult life, angiotensin 2 receptors are present only in adrenal medulla, vascular epithelium and brain. Both AT1 and AT2 receptors are G protein coupled receptors. If we see the functions of angiotensin 1 receptor, all the actions of angiotensin 2 are produced by the angiotensin 1 receptors. They are generalized vasoconstriction, cell growth in heart and arteries, secretion of aldosterone, reabsorption of sodium from proximal and distal tubule, and enhanced peripheral sympathetic activity, as we have seen into the previous slide. While AT2 receptor has some protective actions, it produces anti-proliferative action, apoptosis, vasodilatation and fetal tissue development, But into the adult life, most of the actions of angiotensin 2 are through AT1 receptors. So agonist to both the receptor is angiotensin 2 obviously, and antagonists are mainly targeted at the AT1 receptor, losartan and valsartan, because all the harmful actions are mediated through AT1 receptors. Until date, we do not have any drug which is inhibiting the AT2 receptor or acting through AT2 receptor. So antagonists of angiotensin 2 are mainly blocking through AT1 receptors. Now we see the drug targets in renin-angiotensin system. This chart is very well understood by now. Angiotensinogen is converted into angiotensin 1 by the renin. Renin is released from the JG cells of kidney. Angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2 with the help of enzyme angiotensin converting enzyme, also called as kinase 2. This angiotensin 2 will be mainly acting through AT1 receptor and produces actions like vasoconstriction, aldosterone release, increased peripheral resistance, which lead to increased sodium and water retention, increased blood pressure, as well as cardiovascular hypertrophy. So where drugs can act? Drug can act directly onto the renin enzyme, which is the first step. So drug can be direct renin inhibitor. The drug in this category is aliskiren. It is newly developed. Drugs can inhibit ACE enzyme so that angiotensin 1 is not converted into angiotensin 2. In this category, drugs are captopril and enalapril. And third category is drugs which can block AT1 receptor, and drugs are losartan, valsartan, telmisartan and many more. So in this session we will be mainly focusing our discussion on these three category of drugs. We first start with the AC inhibitors because they are most frequently used clinically. The drugs are discovered in early 1960s, and it was discovered from the venom of the pit viper intensified the response to bradykinin, and it was discovered that the substance that produced by the viper is a vasodilator. It is the action of vasodilatation is caused by inhibition of kinase 2, which is the enzyme that has inactivated bradykinin, and later it was found that kinase 2 is nothing but the enzyme ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme. The first drug produced in this category was teprotide. It is a nonapeptide that lowered the blood pressure caused by primary hypertension, but it was a peptide, so it was not orally active, having very short duration of action, so it was not very popular. Later on, orally effective AC inhibitor was discovered, which is captopril, and after that many more drugs has been discovered like captopril, enalapril, lisinopril, ramipril, fosipril, perindopril, etc. And if you notice that all the ACE inhibitor have suffix pril, that is PRIL. So if the drug name ends with pril, PRIL, then it belongs to ACE inhibitor generally. We first discuss captopril as a prototype drug of ACE inhibitor class. It inhibits the conversion of angiotensin 1 to active substance angiotensin 2. So angiotensin 2 mediated actions are inhibited. So ultimately lower blood pressure and enhanced natriuresis is seen. It abolishes the pressure effect of angiotensin 1, and lowering of the blood pressure is dependent on the inherent sodium level and renin angiotensin system activity of the body. In normotensive and sodium repleted individuals, fall in blood pressure after initial few doses of captopril is modest or minimal, but more marked fall in blood pressure is seen when sodium depleted or dietary sodium restriction is followed, or patient is taking diuretic, which automatically causes sodium and water retention. So action of AC inhibitors is dependent on the endogenous sodium level and endogenous RS system activity. That is why most of the patient of hypertension are advised salt restricted diet if they are on ACE inhibitor, and as such they are also advised salt restricted diet. Renin-angiotensin system activity is found to be high in 20%, normal in 60%, and low in 20% of hypertensive patients, but still ACE inhibitors are helpful in most of them. When renin levels are high, ACE inhibitor caused marked fall in blood pressure. Now we see the pharmacological actions of captopril. It is action on the blood vessel. It dilates both arteries and vein, but arterial dilatation predominates. When arterial dilatation occurs, there is decreased peripheral resistance and decreased diastolic blood pressure. As a result of venodilatation, decreased venous return and decreased preload and decreased systolic blood pressure occurs. Other action is decreased sympathetic tone. Decreased sympathetic tone would lead to decreased systolic BP and improved compliance of the blood vessels. Decreased aldosterone level would lead to less retention of sodium and water, cause reduced circulatory volume and decreased systolic blood pressure. I hope you understand this action from that chart of actions of angiotensin II. Angiotensin II has three actions. One is rapid pressure action, which is mainly through the blood vessel, that is inhibited, lead to fall in blood pressure. Second is renal action, release of aldosterone, that is leading to increase in the blood pressure, and inhibition of angiotensin II will lead to decrease aldosterone, less retention of sodium and water, and reduce circulatory volume and decrease systolic blood pressure. And hypertrophy of the heart muscle is also reduced with ACE inhibitors. Other action, captopril has no effect on cardiovascular reflexes, renal, coronary and cerebral blood flow, and aldosterone release as such is not affected. Increased renin release and the rate of formation of angiotensin 1 to increase production of vasodilator peptides such as angiotensin 1-7, which contributes to antihypertensive action. Here we are inhibiting ACE enzyme. So angiotensin 1 is not converted into angiotensin 2. That is fine, but what happens with angiotensin 1? It is going to be converted into some other substance. So this angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 1-7 peptide, and this peptide is also helpful for the antihypertensive action. There is increased bradykinin level, and bradykinin stimulates the prostaglandin biosynthesis. Increased circulating level of natural stem cell regulator N-acetylserine aspartyl lysyl proline by 5-fold, and it is also having cardioprotective action. If we see the pharmacokinetic of captopril, it is given orally, 70% absorption on oral administration occur, but food reduces the absorption of captopril, so it is advisable to take captopril on empty stomach only. It has poor penetration into brain, otherwise it distributes well into all the tissues. It is partly metabolized and partly excreted unchanged into the urine, and half-life or action lasts for 6 to 8 hours. Available preparations are tablet of 12.5 and 25 milligrams. Now we see the adverse effect of captopril. First action is hypotension. There is initial sharp fall in the diuretic treated patients and heart failure patient. This initial sharp fall in blood pressure is very predominant or very serious into the sodium depleted patients. More in patients with sodium depletion or increased renin angiotensin aldosterone activity, because this too will aggravate or facilitate the actions of ACE inhibitors. It produces hyperkalemia as a side effect. In impaired renal functions, patient taking potassium retaining diuretics, NSAIDs or beta blocker, this hyperkalemia is profound. So you should be very cautious. It produces cough as a side effect. Cough is usually dry cough which occurs in 1 to 8 weeks after the starting the therapy, and it lasts for 4 to 6 days or it may last longer. It may be troublesome for some patients and it requires discontinuation of a drug rarely. It The development of dry cough is attributed to reduced breakdown of bradykinin and substance P, which accumulate and produces dry cough. Other side effect is dysgeusia, that is reversible loss or alteration of the taste sensation. Urticaria and allergic reaction, like it can happen with every drug, but usually with captopril the allergic reaction and urticaria is mild and usually no withdrawal is required. Angioedema, if serious allergic reaction occur, there is a lips, mouth, nose and larynx are involved, needs the treatment with adrenaline, antihistamine and corticosteroids, and it can be life threatening, but that is very rare. It can lead to fetopathy. During later half of pregnancy, if ACE inhibitors are given, it could lead to growth retardation, hypoplasia of organs and fetal death. So it is advisable that ACE inhibitors should be stopped whenever woman conceives. Other side effects are headache, dizziness, nausea, bowel upset. It can lead to granulocytopenia and proteinuria, but these are very rare and indicates withdrawal of therapy. But they retard diabetic and other nephropathies and are considered as a renoprotective also. Other serious adverse drug reaction is acute renal failure, but it happens in patients with bilateral renal artery stenosis because of the dilatation of afferent arterioles and fall in glomerular filtration pressure. That is why the drug is contraindicated in patients with bilateral renal artery stenosis, aortic stenosis and coarctation of aorta. So before prescribing ACE inhibitor, one should rule out that patient is not having bilateral renal artery stenosis, aortic stenosis or coarctation of aorta. Now we see the drug interactions with captopril. In ACE inhibitor in combination with diuretic potentiate the antihypertensive action by causes sodium loss. Diuretic are the drug which enhances the loss of sodium and water from the body, and if it is given along with ACE inhibitor, depleted sodium level will potentiate the antihypertensive action of ACE inhibitors. NSAIDs, they decrease the antihypertensive action of ACE inhibitor because one of the side effect of NSAID is that they causes sodium and water retention and may cause renal failure. Hyperkalemia may occur if potassium supplements are taken, like patient is taking very heavy amount of fruit juice, nariyal pani or potassium retaining drugs are administered simultaneously. It may lead to life threatening hyperkalemia. Administration of antacid will reduce the bioavailability by decreasing the absorption from the stomach. The drug ACE inhibitor will reduce the lithium clearance and may precipitate lithium toxicity, so it should be prescribed very cautiously into the mania patient who are on lithium. This finishes the prototype drug captopril, and we have discussed the general characteristic of the all ACE inhibitor class drugs simultaneously. Now we will be discussing the difference of individual drug from the captopril. All other characteristic or the general characteristic of the ACE inhibitor groups remains the same. Next drug is enalapril. It is a prodrug. It is converted in the body to enalaprillate, which is the active component. Enalaprillate is the active component which is not absorbed orally, so we give it by the prodrug. This conversion is carried out into the liver by the process called as de-esterification. So advantages of enalapril. Here you assume that mechanism of action, pharmacological action, therapeutic uses and other things remains the same. Advantages are that the enalapril is more potent, effective dose is 5 to 20 milligram once or twice a day. Absorption is not affected by the food, so it can be taken at any time of the day. It is longer acting, so most of the patient require single daily administration. It has slow onset of action due to the need of conversion into active metabolite. So there is no initial fall into the blood pressure or no first dose hypotension is seen, which is very common with captopril. Rashes, urticaria, Dysgeusia or loss of taste sensation like side effects are less frequent with enalapril as compared to captopril. So currently it is most commonly used ACE inhibitor in market, available into the dose of 2.5, 5, 10 and 20 milligram tablets. Next is lisinopril. It is not a prodrug, but food does not affect its absorption. Slow acting, no initial hypotension is seen. It is also longer acting. It can reduce venous return and cardiac output after few weeks in some patients. Available into 2.5, 5, 10 and 20 milligram tablets. Perindopril. Active metabolite is perindoprilate, which is longer acting, available as tablet of 2 and 4 milligram. Ramipril is another drug which is active metabolite is ramiprilate, is longer active, wide tissue penetration, inhibiting the local RAS also, but clinical significance of this local action is not seen. Capsule of 1.25, 25 and 5 milligram of ramipril is available in market, and after that many more ACE inhibitors has came into the market with the added advantage of longer action only. Now we discuss the therapeutic uses of ACE inhibitors as a class. They are very important drug into the management of hypertension. In fact, they belong to first line therapy for hypertension. They are also useful for congestive cardiac failure, ischemic heart disease and myocardial infarction, prophylaxis in high cardiovascular risk patients, and in diabetic and non-diabetic nephropathies, ACE inhibitors can be used. So this is the list of therapeutic uses. Now we and one more is scleroderma crisis. Now we see the individual action into the disease. ACE inhibitor in hypertension. They are first line drug for management of hypertension. Mechanism for decreasing the blood pressure we have discussed already, that they inhibit the angiotensin 2 by blocking ACE enzyme. So action on the blood pressure, arterial dilatation occurs, so decrease peripheral vascular resistance, so decrease in the diastolic blood pressure. Venodilatation occurs, so decrease in the venous return, decrease preload and decrease systolic blood pressure. Decrease sympathetic tone, which would lead to decreased systolic BP and improved compliance of blood vessels. Decrease aldosterone, so less retention of sodium and water, reduce circulatory volume and decrease systolic blood pressure. ACE inhibitors lower systemic vascular resistance and mean blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure and systolic blood pressure in various hypertensive state, except when the blood pressure is due to primary aldosteronism. Initial fall in blood pressure tend to be positively correlated with the plasma renin activity and angiotensin 2 level of the plasma. So initial activity is mainly dependent on the plasma renal renin activity, but after a time if you start with the ACE inhibitor, that plasma renin activity becomes normal. Then how the antihypertensive action is maintained for the long term or throughout life? You all know that all antihypertensive are prescribed lifelong. So long term fall in blood pressure is due to reduction into the total peripheral resistance, systemic arterial dilatation and increase in the compliance of the large arteries. Baroreceptor function and cardiovascular reflexes are not compromised, and the response to postural changes and exercise are little impaired, which is advantage of ACE inhibitors. Alone it can normalize the blood pressure in around 50% of patients with mild to moderate hypertension, and diurate will augment the antihypertensive action. So what are the advantages of ACE inhibitor as antihypertensive? It does not produce postural hypotension, syncope or first dose effect which is there with the alpha blockers. Renal blood flow is well maintained. It is safe into the patients of asthma, diabetes and peripheral vascular disease patients. It reverses or prevents the cardiac remodeling and improves survival into the MI and CHF patients. It can reverse diabetic nephropathies and other end organ damage. There is no electrolyte disturbances, weakness, hyperuricemia, hyperglycemia or effect on the lipid profile or CNS side effects are seen. There is no rebound hypertension on withdrawal, which is a very common problem of beta blockers. It produces good quality of life, general well being is maintained, work performance, sleep, and sexual performances are not affected with the AC inhibitor. All these advantages make AC inhibitor drug of the first line for the management of hypertension. Second therapeutic use was left ventricular systolic dysfunction. It reduces the afterload and systolic wall stress, increase renal blood flow via vasodilatation of the afferent and efferent arterioles, and decrease secretion of aldosterone would lead to natriuresis, so decrease body fluid, blood volume decreases, decrease venous return to the right side of the heart, and decrease into the preload, and it will help in left ventricular systolic dysfunction. It reduces the ventricular dilatation and tend to restore the heart to its normal elliptical shape. It is one of the drug which can reverse the cardiac remodeling process because it is one of the causative factor. So it reverses the ventricular remodeling. Another therapeutic use is acute myocardial infarction. Beneficial effect in acute MI are particularly large in hypertensive and diabetic patients. In high risk patients, that is of patients with having large infarct, systolic ventricular dysfunction, AC inhibition should be continued for long term therapy. Patients who are at high risk cardiovascular event, AC inhibitor significantly reduces the rate of MI, stroke, and death. Here we are mainly discussing the action as antihypertensive drug, but other actions like role into the CHF and myocardial action infarction will be discussed again into the lectures of that disorders. AC inhibitors in diabetic mellitus and renal failure. They prevent or delay the progression of renal disease in diabetes type 1. They decrease retinopathy progression in diabetes type 1 patients. And they are also useful into the scleroderma crisis because of their vasodilatory and anti-hypertrophic action. Now we come to the another class of drug, that is angiotensin receptor blockers. Till now we have discussed ACE inhibitor, captopril, enalapril, ramipril, and many more. Now we move to the next category, that is angiotensin antagonist or AT receptor blockers. Drugs in this category are losartan, candesartan, olmesartan, irbesartan, telmisartan, valsartan, etc. Here you can see that they all have suffix sartan. So the drug which are having suffix sartan, they belong to angiotensin antagonist. They mainly act as a competitive antagonist at AT1 receptor. Binding of angiotensin receptor blockers to AT1 receptor is competitive, but it is insurmountable to biological response to angiotensin 2. ARBs potently and selectively inhibit most of the biological effect of angiotensin 2. They are non-peptide drugs, so all are orally active, and they are developed as an alternative to ACE inhibitors. We first start with the prototype drug, that is losartan, that belongs to AT1 blockers, also called as ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers. It is selective and competitive blocker of AT1 receptor, 10,000 times more selective for AT1 receptors. It blocks all actions of angiotensin mediated by AT1 receptors. Actions like vasoconstriction, sympathetic stimulation, release of ADH, release of aldosterone, release of adrenaline, renal actions like sodium and water retention, central actions like thirst and vasopressin release, growth promoting effect on the heart and blood vessels. All these actions are mediated through AT1 receptor and they all are blocked. So pharmacological actions are similar to ACE inhibitors. But the enzyme ACE, angiotensin converting enzyme per se, is not inhibited. This drug will act the receptors through which angiotensin 2 act. They are not inhibiting the production of angiotensin 2, they inhibit the actions of angiotensin 2. They also said to inhibit the thromboxane A2 and having some amount of antiplatelet action, but that is questionable, not proven yet. So actions of angiotensin 2 receptor angiotensin 2 receptor blockers are AT1 blockers are fall in blood pressure for 24 hours. There is no effect on the heart rate and cardiovascular reflexes are not interfered. No effect on to the glucose and lipid metabolism, and they are mild uricosuric also. They also cause regression of hypertensive left ventricular hypertrophy. If we see the pharmacokinetic, they are given orally. Absorption is not affected by food. Metabolite into the liver, active metabolite and the drug itself both are highly plasma protein bound. Dose adjustment is required into hepatic dysfunction. So what are the advantages of ARBs over ACE? If all the actions are same as ACE, why they are developed? The advantages are they do not interfere with the degradation of bradykinin and substance P, and dry cough does not occur with ARB, which is very common problem with ACE inhibitors. They causes more complete inhibition of AT1 receptor activation because response to angiotensin 2 generated by alternate pathway and subsequent lead to AT1 activation which remain intact with ACE inhibitors are also blocked. What happens with ACE inhibitor? When ACE enzyme is inhibited, angiotensin 2 is not produced or very little amount of angiotensin 2 is produced which may act on AT1 receptor and produces the harmful action. Here we are blocking direct AT1 receptor, so even minute quantity of angiotensin 2 cannot produce the action. Indirect activation of AT2 receptor occurs. If a substance is having two types of receptor and one receptor is blocked, then automatically there is activation of other type of receptors. So blockage of AT1 receptor mediate feedback inhibition. More angiotensin 2 is produced which act on AT2 receptor with the actions are beneficial like apoptotic action, anti-proliferative action, vasodilatation and many more. ARBs cause little increase into the angiotensin 1,7 which is markedly raised by ACE inhibitor. But all these advantages are only theoretical. Clinical significance or clinical value of this advantage is not known. So in a prescribing practice, ACE inhibitors and ARBs are same. Except for the dry cough, no subtle advantage of ARBs over ACE inhibitors. In fact, ARBs are costlier drug than ACE inhibitors. So therapeutic uses of ARB, they are similar to ACE inhibitors like hypertension, congestive heart failure, myocardial infarction, diabetic nephropathy, stroke prophylaxis. Adverse effect of angiotensin receptor blockers like ACE inhibitors, ADRs like hypotension, oliguria, progressive azotemia, or acute renal failure and hyperkalemia. Other side effects are abnormal hepatic function, hepatitis, neutropenia, leukopenia, agranulocytosis, pruritus, urticaria, hyponatremia, alopecia, and vasculitis, including Henoch choline purpura, has been reported with ARBs. Unlike ACE inhibitors, angioedema and cough incidence or dry cough is less with ARBs as compared to ACE inhibitors. Now we shift to the third category, that is aliskiren, direct renin inhibitor. It is a low molecular weight non-peptide, a potent competitive inhibitor of renin. Mechanism of action, it binds with the active site of renin to block conversion of angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. So renin is combining with the angiotensinogen. This binding site is blocked by the aliskiren. so that angiotensinogen cannot combine with renin and angiotensin 1 is not produced, so subsequent blockage of angiotensin 2 and other actions are there. So pharmacological effect, it causes dose dependent reduction into the blood pressure, decrease plasma renin activity and angiotensin 1 and 2 levels, but increase plasma renin concentration. Decreased plasma and urinary aldosterone levels are seen and it causes enhanced natriuresis. But bioavailability is very low, around 2.5%. Half-life is 20 to 45 hours. Therapeutic uses into the hypertension. It is also useful for prevention of end organ damage, that is left ventricular hypertrophy, heart failure, diabetic nephropathy. Adverse effects are many like GI symptoms, diarrhea, abdominal pain, dyspepsia, GERD, nausea, vomiting. It causes headache, nasopharyngitis, dizziness, fatigue, upper respiratory tract infection, back pain, angioedema. It produces cough as a side effect, but it is less common than ACE inhibitor. It can produce rash, hypotension, hyperkalemia, increase urate level, renal stones, and gout can be precipitated. So, if we see that AC inhibitors are safe and effective drugs, this Aliskirin is costlier, comparatively newly developed, with no added advantage over AC inhibitor. The drug is not recommended in pregnancy. So, this finishes our discussion on the plasma kinine including angiotensin Gen, angiotensin 1, angiotensin 2, which acts through AT1 receptors and produces other actions. But the plasma kinines also include another kinine, that is bradykinin and calidin. Bradykinin is produced from the kininogen. Kininogen is of two varieties: low molecular weight kininogen, which is present into tissue, and high molecular weight kininogen, which is present into plasma. This plasma kallikrein is the enzyme which converts this kininogen into calidin and ultimately conversion into bradykinin. And this low molecular weight or the tissue kininogen is converted into calidin by the tissue kallikrein enzyme. This bradykinin will act through the B2 receptor. It is different than beta receptor. In sympathetic system we have alpha and beta receptors. Here for the bradykinin we have B2 receptor. It mediates the release of nitrous oxide, prostaglandins, and EDHF, endothelium derived hypertrophic factor. It produces vasodilatation, sodium excretion, and acute pain. Release of bradykinin and calidin will produce pain. Bradykinin and calidin are also converted into its active form by the enzyme kinase 1 and 2, that is des-arginine calidin and des-arginine 9 bradykinin. It is all acting through B1 receptor and mediate the release of nitrous oxide and prostaglandin and produces vasodilatation. It is responsible for chronic pain and leukocyte recruitment and inflammation inside the body. So what is the role of kinins? They are mediator of pain. Acute pain is mediated through B2 receptors and pain of chronic inflammation is mediated through B1 receptors. They produces inflammatory response, that is wheal and flare response seen with the histamine and hereditary angioedema. They also produce allergic respiratory disease like bronchial asthma and rhinitis. Action on the cardiovascular system, they produces vasodilatation and lower blood pressure and cardioprotective action. In the kidney, increased renal blood flow and natriuresis is seen. Dilatation of fetal pulmonary artery, closure of the ductus arteriosus and constriction of the umbilical vessels. Now drugs acting on this kinine are aproteinin. It is a kallikrein and plasmin inhibitor. It inhibits the mediators of inflammatory response, fibrinolysis and thrombin generating following cardiopulmonary bypass surgery. It reduces the requirement for blood products in patients undergoing coronary artery bypass grafting. So sometimes it is used by the cardiac specialist for this purpose. Another drug is ecatibant. It is a longer acting selective B2 receptor antagonist. It is approved for the treatment of acute episodes of swelling in patients with hereditary angioedema. So, this finishes our discussion on the plasma kinins, renin inhibitor, AC inhibitors, and angiotensin receptor blockers. I hope you have understood it, and if you have any questions, you can ask here. Thank you.